Hey everyone, what's going on? I'm kind of feeling inspired today, so I figured I'd make a video about some of these synchronicity things and some of these news stories that are going on because, I mean, there's so many times where it seems that the mainstream media is making articles off of the random things that I'm blogging about. Just the most ridiculous things. A little over a month ago, I rewatched Home Alone 2. Just randomly rewatched Home Alone 2 because I watched it because my kid was talking about monster trucks. And I remember in Home Alone 3, there's a part where they have that motorized car or whatever, that little RC car or whatever it is. And then I went back and I showed my kids all these other Home Alone movies and the funny scenes. And I ended up watching a couple of the Home Alone movies. And I made a blog post when Ivana Trump died. I talked about the stock market crash like crazy and how Donald Trump is in the movie Home Alone 2. And then just a little bit later, they mention how Herbert Hoover once stayed at that hotel. Herbert Hoover, of course, the president during the stock market crash, and a whole bunch of stuff. And like a day or two after I watched Home Alone, there was a story in the news about Home Alone 2 and how Donald Trump chose not to act, just like he didn't at the Capitol insurrection. So then I made this big blog post about Home Alone 2, and I talked about the stock market crash and a bunch of stuff. And a couple days later, I was having HBO Max kept trying to get me to watch this movie called Geostorm. I swear they just kept recommending this movie. And I'll explain some of this in a minute, but later on in this thing, I was talking about space and Batman and James Bond and the Secret Service, and that was all linked up to the moon landing, and I saw that Disney Plus was coming out with this new movie called Lightyear. And I was like, Buzz Lightyear? It's got to be connected to Buzz Aldrin, right? Who Buzz Lightyear's named after. And then I even mentioned it's pretty funny how I've been talking about Home Alone, and on Home Alone, you got Kevin's brother named Buzz, right? So I didn't think much of it. I thought, interesting, maybe there's something connected to Kevin's brother Buzz. But now, a month later, we got the guy who played Buzz in Home Alone just so happens to have rape allegations. And even more odd is the fact that this happens on Kobe Bryant Day. And if you go back to this post where I actually mentioned Buzz from Home Alone, I talk about Kobe Bryant, like right at the very beginning of this thing, because once again, this movie Geostorm kept showing up on my HBO Max, and I didn't know what it was, like what the purpose was, but I went and watched the movie, and they put a lot of emphasis on one of the girls in the movie being a Secret Service agent. And Zach had been making a whole bunch of videos talking about the Secret Service, and then I went to his blog, and he had a blog about this movie called Angel Has Fallen, and he talked about the connections to Kobe Bryant in this, Angel Has Fallen and so on, but he talked about the relationship to Kobe Bryant. And I was looking at the cover, and I was like, how interesting. It has Gerard Butler in it, right? He's like one of the main guys. But Gerard Butler's also the main guy in the movie Geostorm. So I was like, what in the world? But moral of the story, it's interesting that I even would talk about Kobe Bryant in this post. And then now we have Buzz in the news on Kobe Bryant Day. And of course, his birthday is January 11th, which the NBA Finals equals 111 in gematria. The word basketball equals 111 in gematria. And we just got this story about Kobe Bryant's wife, Vanessa, and how she won the lawsuit with Kobe Bryant's helicopter photos today on Kobe Bryant Day. The media even, mocks you and tells you, oh, it's coincidentally that it was on Kobe Bryant Day that this happened. But if you go from Vanessa's birthday to today, it's 111 days. Like I said, the NBA Finals, think about Kobe Bryant. Basketball, 111. This Buzz guy born on January 11th. And then he's in the news right after the movie Lightyear comes out. Buzz Lightyear. So you think about the connections to... So I started thinking about how Home Alone, the main setting, and the first one at least, is in Chicago, and the second one's in New York City. And I don't know. Last year, I was following a lot of symbolism with the Chicago Bulls that seemed to be pointing to the Golden State Warriors. So I just figured I'd type out some stuff in gematria and see what it came to. And recently I've been talking a lot about the number 424 with Donald Trump and the Capitol insurrection. And remember that post back in July about Home Alone was over, it was Home Alone and they were talking about the Capitol insurrection. And all the Secret Service stuff was talking about the Capitol insurrection. And there was a story about the Secret Service on the anniversary of the moon landing with the Secret Service. Of course, remember how the Batman shooting that I've talked about with Donald Trump and the number 424 in these previous videos. It's linked up to the movie Skyfall, the James Bond movie. And then the first guy to walk on the moon, Neil Armstrong, after that Batman shooting, ended up dying on Sean Connery's birthday. Sean Connery, of course, James Bond, but think about James Bond and the Secret Service. And if you go back to, I think it was right after Sean Connery died, I think it was like 13 days after Sean Connery died, on the night of that really big supermoon and a whole bunch of stuff with that. But the Secret Service actually got a bunch of Secret Service members got coronavirus on November 13th, right after Sean Connery died. Well, November 13th just so happens to be Gerard Butler's birthday, right? So it's all ridiculous. But the main point I'm making here is this number 424. You can watch these previous videos. Talk all about the number 424 like no other with Donald Trump. Why capital letters are important. So I typed out Chicago Bulls because of Home Alone. And Chicago Bulls in all capital letters just so happens to equal 424. So like, what are the odds, And they also equal 212, and it also equals 212 in all capital letters. And the guy who plays Buzz, his name equals 212. And thinking about it too, we just had the death of Bill Russell, and his birthday was 212. And Bill Russell had the 11 championships, and I'm thinking here, because it's $31 million. The 11th prime number is 31. And even in the article, they go on to tell you the jurors listen to 11 days, right? So this to 11 days, and it ends up being for $31 million. The 11th prime is 31. You just had Bill Russell on his 11 championships, and he's going to be on all of the NBA jerseys this year and so on. So it's interesting, his birthday is 2/12. But if you go from, I was like thinking about Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan playing for the Bulls. And if you go from today to Michael Jordan's birthday, it's 5 months, 24 days. And next year will also be the year 23. And think about Michael Jordan and the number 23, right? Think about how he wore the number 45 for 22 games and switched back to the number 23 on his 23rd game back after he came back. And he made his comeback on the date 3/19, right? Just interesting how today is also 3 months, 19 days after Vanessa Bryant's birthday. But 5 months, 24 days before Michael Jordan's birthday. Chicago Bulls also equals 524 in all capital letters. And Kamala Harris also equals 524 in all capital letters. And I talked about how the stock market stuff was important to Donald Trump meeting Pope Francis on the date 5/24 of 2017, right after he touched the Western Wall. So there's something interesting there. Kobe Bryant also died 5 months and 24 days before the anniversary of the Batman shooting. So there's definitely a link with Kobe Bryant and how it links up to that moon landing symbolism. And it links up to the Batman shooting and James Bond and so on. But next year will be the year of the rabbit, right? Right now we're in the Chinese year of the tiger. And that's why we have Sylvester Stallone in the news too, right? Sylvester Stallone is currently in the news. He's getting a divorce. I don't know how many blog posts and videos for the last 2 years I've talked about why Sylvester Stallone is important to this year. Because he turned 76 years old on the date 7/6 this year. And the movie Rocky has the song Eye of the Tiger, or Rocky 3, right? Eye of the Tiger equals 76. Tiger equals 76. It's the year of the tiger. Donald Trump is currently 76 years old. Donald Trump is linked to Batman. Also, George W. Bush, another former president, he turned 76 years old on 7/6 this year. He's known for being in the secret society called Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones equals 76. Whole bunch of interesting things. But let me go back here. I just wanted to put emphasis on how this year is the Tiger year, and a lot of these things involving tigers have been important, such as Mike Tyson, another boxer, who's important to tigers, and Vladimir Putin's tiger, and a whole bunch of other things going on with the tiger symbolism. But next year will be the year of the rabbit, and the year 23, like Michael Jordan's number. And think about Space Jam, right? Space Jam equals 23 in gematria, so does MJ. And think about Bugs Bunny, who's the rabbit, right? Bugs Bunny, Space Jam. Michael Jordan, if you look him up, he was born on the 23rd day of a Chinese rabbit year. So it's like, there's something important to Michael Jordan, definitely, in this coming year, the rabbit year. We'll pay attention to maybe pay attention to the 23rd day of the Chinese rabbit year again and see how it links up. I never looked that up, but it's pretty interesting. It's also interesting that a big reason why I was talking about the movie Home Alone in relation to the stock market crash is because in part 2, it has Donald Trump in it, right? And then right after he sees Donald Trump, they mention how Herbert Hoover once stayed at the hotel. But in 2017, we got the death of the dad on Home Alone named John Hurd. And that was like the day after the anniversary of the moon landing. But within the following days, we had a gangster shooting at the Jacquees concert in Chicago. And I started thinking about gangster stuff with the St. Valentine's Day massacre and how there was something important to Home Alone with the gangster movie, right? Where, whatever movie that is, he uses the gangster movie to fool the people and so on. And then we had the gangster shooting at the Jacquees concert, and that's how the media portrayed it, a gangster shooting. So I was wondering if there's something important to Valentine's Day that following year, and we got the Stoneman Douglas shooting on Valentine's Day, reminding us of a Valentine's Day massacre again. And that was interesting because we recently have, back in July when I was making them posts about Home Alone, we had the trial or the sentencing or whatever it was of Nicholas Cruz, the guy who supposedly shot Stoneman Douglas up and all that. So Stoneman Douglas was back in the news right around the same time that I'm talking about Home Alone and the stock market crash, and Home Alone linked up to the stock market crash. But the St. Valentine's Day massacre also had the gangster Bugs Moran who got killed, right? Just thinking about that. Bugs Bunny, Bugs Moran, Rabbit. JFK was assassinated in a Chinese rabbit year as well. And think about how Joe Biden is the second Catholic president just after JFK. And, there's all these links to the stock market with the Pope, how Joe Biden met Pope Francis on the anniversary of the stock market crash last year. So, interesting to think about. And Home Alone 2 also came out on Joe Biden's birthday, 11/20 of 1992, I think it was. So Home Alone 2 came out on Joe Biden's birthday, and then Donald Trump was even in the movie. So hopefully all that makes sense. I'm going to skip over a bunch of the stuff, talking about Kobe Bryant and Batman and so on. Jack Nicholson, the Lakers fan who was the Joker, who's going to be 86 years old next year. But if you looked at these stories on CNN, you got the Home Alone one. Then you have one about Oklahoma too, which is interesting because they say that these allegations stem back to a different assault case that this guy had back in December, and it was in Oklahoma. So just interesting, there's a story about Oklahoma. And then we get the story about Sylvester Stallone and how he's getting a divorce today. And it's like, I don't know how many times I've talked about Sylvester Stallone. It's just so ridiculous how many times I've talked about the importance of him this year. And the number 76, and of course, if you write out the word divorce, it equals 76. So He turned 76 years old on 7/6. Eye of the Tiger 76. The word Tiger 76. Donald Trump's currently 76. George W. Bush is 76. Turned 76 on 7/6. And then now we're getting a story about Sylvester Stallone getting a divorce when he's 76 years old, you know. And even further in the story, when you read it, they tell you that his wife filed for divorce on on August, August 19th is when she actually filed for divorce, 1 month and 13 days after Sylvester Stallone's 76th birthday. And look at the word divorce again, 113, like 1 month and 13 days, also 76. And this is on Kobe Bryant Day too, and of course Kobe Bryant equals 41 and 113 as well. I mean, it's just craziness, you know. Michael Jordan equals 113 and also 76. So this number is just stupidly important this year, you know. Even like Donald John Trump equals 76, and he's 76 years old. We recently had all that lightning symbolism connected to Barack Obama and so on. Barack Obama's 76. He's got this number, 456, that's linked up to that stock market narrative that I'm talking about with Pope Francis and Joe Biden meeting Pope Francis on the anniversary of the stock market crash. 4 years, 5 months, and 6 days after Donald Trump met Pope Francis on 5/24. Remember, Kamala Harris equals 5/24. Kamala Harris born on the same day in history that Herbert Hoover died. Just all kinds of stuff with the stock market symbolism. And in relation to the Pope too, right? So 4 years, 5 months, 6 days after Donald Trump meets the Pope, Joe Biden meets the Pope on the anniversary of the stock market crash. And his vice president is the president who was born the same day Herbert Hoover died. Herbert Hoover, the president during the stock market crash. But if you go, then we had Squid Game this year that was all about 456. And if you go 456 days after Squid Game, it takes you to Pope Francis's birthday. And, there's just so many interesting things going on. Even 424 days after Kamala Harris's birthday is Pope Francis's birthday. And, of course, this number 424 is this big number. I'm not going to go into detail, but you can go and check out some of these other videos that I've recently put out. But in relation to this, I just put this video out talking about boxing, right? And how it's important to Rocky and Ukraine and Russia and all that. And also UFC, because think about Rocky, who fights the Russian, and Conor McGregor, who also had all that beef with Khabib, the Russian. Go back and watch this video. It has a lot to do with the number 229, such as how this year France is in its 229th anniversary, or 229th anniversary of the French Republic, 229, and that began on September 22nd, 22/9 in France, which is also 2 months and 29 days before the president of France's birthday. And if you write out France and Francis Bacon gematria, it equals 229. So just a whole bunch of interesting things with this. And then you got like Conor McGregor, who's born on Bastille Day, which is an important day in France, right? And just before his birthday last year, that's when he fought Dustin Poirier, who's got the French last name, and his name equals 229. And Dustin Glenn Poirier equals 229, and his nickname, the Diamond, equals 229. And Conor McGregor equals 229. And when Conor McGregor fought the Russian, he fought him at UFC 229. So there's this big relationship with France. Ivana Trump even died on Conor McGregor's birthday, right? 4 months and 24 days after her birthday. So there's this big relationship to how it links up to France. Even on the day that Squid Game came out, there was a story about France being mad about the submarine deal with Australia. So I know there was something related to France with this whole narrative. And if you go back years, back in 2015, let me see if I can find a picture of it. 2016, actually. But this was on Bastille Day. There was a Nice, France I call it a van attack for some reason. I don't know if it's a Mandela effect thing or what, but I swear to you that at the time it was a van attack. I can't get over it. I mean, I've been blogging about this since 2016 and calling it a van attack, but apparently it was a truck. And I don't know, there are a few pictures if you look it up where it has a van in the picture, that like just a van that got hit or something. And maybe I mixed it up back then, but I have moral of the story is, and I know it's important that I've been calling it a van attack, and I don't know why exactly, even because it was a truck if you see the pictures. But I've talked a lot about the Mandela effect in relation to Russia and Ukraine as well, so I don't know. There's something important to why I've called it a van attack and not a truck attack. But moral of the story is that there was an attack. A vehicle crashed into a bunch of people and killed a bunch of people in Nice, France on Bastille Day in 2016. And the next day, the media told us that Sylvester Stallone was there. And they gave us this picture with Sylvester Stallone. And I pointed out way back then that, the fireworks going off in the background, it kind of makes him look like the Statue of Liberty. And this is why back in February, right around the time of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, I was talking about this symbolism again and how I had synchronicity with a bunch of horse stuff that was connected to the Mandela effect, ironically. But it made me think that there was something important to Wendy Williams, because in 2017 there was a story about how Wendy Williams, the talk show host, was dressed up like the Statue of Liberty and collapsed on Halloween. And then I looked up the Wendy Williams show, and the Wendy Williams show just so happened to first air on 7/14, which was Bastille Day. And I was like, what is going on with Bastille Day and the Statue of Liberty? And think about how we got the Statue of Liberty from France. But I think it was last year. Yeah, last year we got a smaller Statue of Liberty called the Statue of Liberty's little sister, and they ended up dedicating it on the date 7/14 on Bastille Day. So we got Wendy Williams' first ever episode aired on 7/14. The Nice, France vehicle attack on 7/14. Bastille Day 7/14. Sylvester Stallone was in Nice, France when there was that vehicle attack, and they made him look like the Statue of Liberty. So I know there's something important to the Statue of Liberty. And I'll explain this in a second, but you can even go back and watch my videos and blog posts. I literally blogged about Wendy Williams possibly being important, and the very next day, there was a mainstream media article about how the Wendy Williams show got canceled. It was like, what are the odds? All because I had synchronicity with, I was watching the movie He's All That on Netflix, and I can't remember what it was. I heard the word horse, or he loves horses or something, and I was talking about this big horse theme, and I had this old song where I said Wendy Williams looks like a horse, and I was following this narrative with, Russia and how it linked up to all this, and then the next day, Wendy Williams show gets canceled. But I knew there was something important to the Statue of Liberty. I've been talking about this forever with Sylvester Stallone, and if you look at the cover of Home Alone 2, it's pretty interesting, they got the Statue of Liberty on here making like a panicked look, right? The Statue of Liberty with a panicked look. This is the movie that's got Donald Trump in it. You also got the Wet Bandits, right? And this is interesting just because of that movie Geostorm. The movie Geostorm has the cover where it looks, I don't know what city it is, but there's like water coming through the town, right? Geostorm, it has the water coming through the town. And there's something important to this, because I've had a bunch of synchronicity with Patrick Swayze and the movie Donnie Darko. That's important to the rabbit, right? Donnie Darko and the rabbit. You just check out the movie Donnie Darko with Patrick Swayze and Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake Gyllenhaal's now going to be in the upcoming movie called Roadhouse, the old Patrick Swayze movie. He's going to be like the star of that movie. He's supposedly going to have Conor McGregor in it and a bunch of stuff. But he's in The Day After Tomorrow, where New York gets flooded. And I've also talked about Hurricane Sandy a whole lot recently. So it seems to be something interesting, connected to New York and the Statue of Liberty, and then you got the wet bandits. It makes me wonder, something to do with water, New York City, tsunami, I don't know. I don't know what exactly it means, but there's something to do with, it just seems important to water with all these things that I'm following. And I don't know what it means either, but notice how they stylize Home Alone on the title with the lowercase e, but all capital letters on the other stuff. I don't see the gematria relationship right now, but I guarantee, I've been talking about the importance of capital letters. I guarantee that there is an importance of why they put this letter right here as a lowercase letter. And I don't know, what's E? What's a lowercase e? It's a 22 in reverse, which is interesting, the year 22. It's also 5, which is important to that pentaveret that we had that came out. But, I'm going to move on here. But, moral of the story is Sylvester Stallone for years have been talking about the Statue of Liberty and how there's something important to France and Bastille Day and Wendy Williams collapsing looking like the Statue of Liberty. And then I saw this cover of Home Alone 2 with the Statue of Liberty looking panicked. So I was like, I was wondering what in the world was going on with that. And I was getting ready to blog about this tonight. And all of a sudden I heard this old orchestra song on the TV. It was really loud. My daughter was watching something on YouTube, and then it went to a commercial, and it was this old orchestra song, and I was like, dude, that's so hilarious, because I recognized this song from the movie Home Alone too. And I went and I knew exactly where it was in the movie. Just from watching the movie recently or what, I don't know. I knew that this song was in the movie Home Alone 2. And maybe it's even in the first one, but I remember it being in this movie when they were trying to get on they woke up late or whatever, and this orchestra song was playing, and I'm going to play a clip here. But it's just interesting. I heard this song, so I'm going to look up that song and, watch the clip again of the Home Alone 2 where this song is, and I found it, and look at this. The van pulls up, and it runs into the statue. You can't even make this up. My computer ran out of data for a second. I had to delete some stuff and come back, but I just want to show you this one more time. Look at that. It's just so ridiculous. The van runs into the statue, and I have been repeatedly calling the Nice, France van attack, even though it's a truck. So let's watch this again. So the van runs into the statue. It's what are the odds? And I know this does happen in the other Home Alone movies, like the pizza guy runs into it, but what are the odds that it was on this? I listened to the orchestra song on the TV, and I recognized that from Home Alone 2, and then the van hits it in this movie, And we'll just keep watching it here, because the orchestra song will come on here in just a second. And then listen to the conversation they have. They'd even mention the numbers 7 and 14. They say, when they're talking about their plane tickets, 7/14 is Bastille Day, right? 7/14, the date of Bastille Day. So let's just watch the clip here.
We did it again!
So this is the song that was playing. And here comes 7/14.
I know I shouldn't complain about a free trip, but geez, you guys give the worst gall-darn wake-up calls.
Right, do you have the tickets? I've got them. Here's your family's. I've got my family. Did you have? 7, 7, 14.
7/14. 7/7/14, but still. The two numbers are 7 and 14. It's crazy stuff, And what's even funnier is the fact that this morning, I made a blog post at work today because there was so many crazy odd things that were going on all day today. I saw 2 people that were missing their thumb, and I don't even know. I got a text message from my old phone number. It was some kid asking if I could DJ their homecoming in Woodbine, Iowa, and I even know a guy in Woodbine, Iowa that's missing his thumb, which is even weirder. So maybe there's something important to him, but it was just weird. It's my old phone number. I was like, what are the odds? Like, I've only had 3 phone numbers since the invention of cell phones. And the majority of my life was this old one on my parents' plan. But then I got my own phone probably 5 or 6 years ago, and I had that number. And then that when that phone broke, I had to get a different number for some reason. But I was like, that's weird. I got a text from my old phone number. But the day really started off with this weird thing where it didn't seem that weird, because I just recently made all these boxing videos talking about Rocky. And I had this notification from Joe Carson, who uses lowercase and capital letters in their name, and they were talking about Sylvester Stallone, right? And his new movie called Samaritan or something. And it is odd that, like, that was the only notification I got, even though, like, I had, like, other comments and stuff. I don't even understand it. Like, I don't get notifications for things a lot of times, but... And then it's halftime, you can't even find the comment, and you can see it in your email, but you can't actually go and comment to it. And I'm also really bad at it. I just have tons of stuff going on. I want to write, like, a real meaningful comment, and then I get lost, and then the next thing you know, it just, like, disappears, and I'm like, oh, I forgot. I'm trying to, like, dedicate, like, one day a week to, like, look through all my comments, but I don't know. I'm trying to get better, but I get a million every day, it seems like. But moral of the story, I get this thing with Sylvester Stallone, and I didn't think much of it. And then I leave my house and I go and I get in my van, and normally the radio is not on. It's very rare that my radio is even turned up. My kids must have turned it up last night or something of the sort. I don't know. Or somebody else drove my van. Maybe my girlfriend's mom drove the van to the dollar store or something. But when I got in, the radio was, like, really loud, and the song Eye of the Tiger was playing, and I was just like, seeing Sylvester Stallone, a notification, not so big of a deal, not really that crazy, but what are the odds that you get in your van, and then Eye of the Tiger is blaring on the radio, and you don't even turn the radio up, but that day, the radio is blaring with Eye of the Tiger? I mean, it's just craziness. And then there was all kinds of just weird stuff going on all day. There's some stuff, I talked about Val Kilmer, and it's just too much to explain. I got a dollar bill that looked like someone spilled pink Kool-Aid all over it. I mean, there was just so many random, like, weird things that happened all day. My mom even texted me this morning, and she's like, she asked if my daughter went to school, because she wasn't at school, and my mom works at the school, and she takes some, like, special ed kids to my daughter's class, and she noticed my daughter wasn't there, and I was like, what the hell? I asked my girlfriend, and she's like, no, I dropped her off at school. And then we started getting worried, we're like, what the hell? Like, she's only 12. I wouldn't think she'd skip or do whatever, and it was just really weird. And I asked my mom, are you sure? And then we started calling the school. We were trying to, we're like, what the hell? Like, nobody kidnapped her in a small town, you wouldn't think. And so on, but, then my mom texted me back, and she's like, oh, I'm really sorry. She straightened her hair, and she was sitting in a different spot, and I didn't recognize her. And I was like, what the hell, It's just such a weird morning. So many weird things going on, and the odds that Eye of the Tiger was blaring, and I get this message about Sylvester Stallone, and then I come home tonight, and I see CNN has a story about Sylvester Stallone getting a divorce. And, of course, divorce is 76. This big number I'm talking about with Sylvester Stallone for years. Insane, Let me go back to this post really quick, make sure. And then it's even, like, related to Home Alone, Statue of Liberty related to this other synchronicity I'm talking about with Home Alone. If you go from Sylvester Stallone's birthday to the day that the Statue of Liberty was dedicated, it's 3 months and 22 days. And think about how that's also George Bush's birthday, and he's 76. He's in Skull and Bones. The big number 322. Believe it or not, my old phone number that called me or texted me today, the final 4 numbers are 3022, which I always thought was funny because it's like a 322, like Skull and Bones number. And of course, my name equals 254. Dan Barrett's 254, Daniel Edward Barrett's 254, Skull and Bones is 254, the Francis Bacon ciphers. So, it's just very interesting. I wish you could find the actual day that Skull and Bones was founded. That's really hard. I can't. The closest I found is the date 12/5, and that just is because of some awards thing that it talks about on Wikipedia, but there's no like actual thing that says the real date of when it was founded. I'm interested to, of what date it is, but I don't know if it's can ever be found, But Zenith pointed out, I know I had a comment. I just read it the other day. I was going to respond. Can't remember. I was at work or something when I read it. Got busy, forgot about it. But I saw it in my email, and he was talking about how Donald Trump in all capital letters also equals 445. And Philadelphia is really important to Rocky, right? And Philadelphia is important to the Pope. And Philadelphia is important to a whole bunch of stuff. But Philadelphia has a new area code, a 445 area code. I can't remember what he told me. Hold on. I should look up the comment, but the 445 area code was established on an important day, I remember. Something to do with Donald Trump. I don't know if it says it on here. I just pulled it up right here, but he talked about the area code was officially approved the same day Trump delivered his early morning victory speech after the 2016 election. So, and that was on 11/9, right? The day of the Berlin Wall came down, which is also the day that the French Revolution came to an end, right? The French Revolution. And more I think about this, Vanessa Bryant, her birthday is 5/5. And that's the day that the French Revolution began. And that's also the day that Napoleon died in history. Napoleon, he died on 5/5. It's the day that the French Revolution began. His birthday is August 15th, which is also Ben Affleck's birthday, which is also the same day that Donald Trump said he was Batman in a helicopter at the Iowa State Fair, which is why Kobe Bryant is important to the whole symbolism. Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter. Kobe Bryant synced up to Batman. That's why the whole stuff with Kobe Bryant and his helicopter photos have been back in the news. Synced up to Donald Trump and this big Batman narrative. And then, of course, too, the Statue of Liberty was made by Gustav Eiffel, right? And the big thing that I talked about with Donald Trump with Iowa State Fair symbolism, but it goes back to the fair symbolism, because the Eiffel Tower that was made by Gustav Eiffel, right? And didn't it debut on 5/6 at the World's Fair and so on, and then Eiffel Tower's 56 and Paris, France 56, a bunch of stuff, but it debuted at the World's Fair, right? As opposed to the fair symbolism. It says 5/5 now. It used to say 5/6. I swear it did. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe it just said that that's the day that this debuted. And 5/5 was the day of the fair. But once again, that's the French Republic, or that's the French Revolution beginning date, right? Eiffel Tower. So maybe there's something important to Gustav Eiffel. Eiffel. I can't even say his name. 91. He died at age 91. It's a number important to the Soviet Union and the space theme as well. Space 91, Rockets 91. The Soviet Union dissolved in the year 91. It's also important to World War. Hold on, I'm going to look this up really quick. And then I'm probably going to get off of here. Can't even highlight it. There we go. Just felt like making a random video here. Oh my god, dude. 424. You gotta be kidding me. Gustav Eiffel, 424. So, what are the odds of that? And 138 like Donald Trump. 265. Hold on. How do you spell it? Just want to see what it is in all capital letters. That's ridiculous. Gustav EIFF. The 56 prime number. Huh. Interesting. This Eiffel Tower. Thought it was 56, yep. 56. Type that out really quick. Huh. That's unbelievable. So there is something important to how that links up with the Statue of Liberty. This guy. Huh. I'll have to do more research on that now. But definitely Sylvester Stallone. You know what else is interesting in regards to Rocky? Rocky, the character Rocky is also born on the date 7/6, just I think a year. I think he turned 77 on 7/6 this year. But we talked a lot about Apollo Creed being born on 8/31, or he died on 8/31. And that's the day that Princess Diana died in France. That's also a day important to earthquakes that I've talked about over the years. And, you know, Apollo Creed, and he's played by Carl Weathers, weather, earthquakes. Rocky, think about the rocks moving and so on, right? So there's something important to that narrative I've talked about for years. But I looked up Ivan Drago, and I swear I didn't see this the other day, but maybe they just recently put it on Wikipedia. But it says Ivan Drago, the Russian boxer, his birthday is January 6th. So that means he turned 62 years old on the day of the Capitol insurrection. It's like, what are the odds of that? Ivan Drago and the Capitol insurrection. Think about how Donald Trump's first impeachment involved Ukraine, and then his second one involved the Capitol insurrection. Plus, it has his full name as this on there, and 304 is a big number I've talked about with Vladimir Putin and Pearl Harbor and stuff, so I'm not even going to reread all that, but it's also the day that there was that donations dinner where the two guys told Donald Trump that his name equaled 424 in the Hebrew gematria, and of course Donald Trump in all capital letters is also 424. And he touched the Western Wall at 424, but that donations dinner was on the date 30/4, and they told him he was the savior of Ukraine. This 226 number is interesting because Russia invaded Ukraine 226 days before Vladimir Putin's birthday. Conor McGregor, who's linked up to this, his record is now 22-6. The president of Turkey, who I talked about in the last video, and how he's linked up because Donald Trump met him on the anniversary of the Paris attacks in 2015. He met him on that day in 2019, and that was just before, on Thanksgiving, Donald Trump shared a picture of his head superimposed on Rocky's body. And you know what? In regards to Conor McGregor, I'm pretty sure that day, 11/28 of 2019, I think it was Thanksgiving, the same day that Donald Trump shared that with the head of Rocky, or his head on Rocky's body. Pretty sure that was the day that they announced that, maybe I could be wrong, there was something to do with Conor McGregor on that day and his upcoming fight against Cowboy Cerrone, Donald Cowboy Cerrone, or however you pronounce his name. I'm trying to think if that was right. That would be 32/42. It possibly wasn't that day, but there was a story or something I remember reading about on that same day with Conor McGregor, now that I think about it. So as I was writing up this blog post tonight, or whatever, about, I should have made that bigger, but I was writing up this blog post about Ivan Drago and talking about Ukraine and so on, and all of a sudden I heard the TV say Ukraine. And I looked up at the TV, and it was this episode of The Simpsons playing called The Falcon and the Dough Man. And right away, that's hilarious to me because this episode is one that I've talked about because with Kobe Bryant. This is on Kobe Bryant Day. But this is the only episode of The Simpsons that Kobe Bryant is actually in. If you look up Kobe Bryant, The Simpsons, he's on this episode for like 2 seconds or whatever. He's fighting this one guy right here. when he's training or something. It's just, and then this guy, these people from Ukraine are trying to kill this guy in the episode. So it's just like, I don't even know. It's just too much sometimes. You know, you're blogging about Ukraine, and then The Simpsons, I have an episode about Ukraine and Kobe that also involves Kobe Bryant playing on the TV. Just synchronicity after synchronicity, you know. And I actually blogged about this episode on March 13th, 2022, which is the anniversary of Pope Francis becoming the Pope. It's the day that Barack Obama got coronavirus earlier this year, which was 4 months and 24 days before August 6th, the big day I was talking about in relation to a whole bunch of symbolism, the 424 number. But notice how I talked about hockey with Vladimir Putin in this, and Kiefer Sutherland and Ukraine. And there's a bunch of lightning symbolism too, with what's going on with, you know, how it all links up. Just seriously, you gotta watch the other videos. There's too much to explain. But the Tampa Bay Lightning lost in the Stanley Cup this year, right? So, to the Colorado Avalanche. So, there's something with hockey going on. Funny or two, I kept watching the TV a little bit. After this, I was kind of sitting there, and the next episode ended up starting. And what are the odds the next episode, the very beginning gag, is about a guy falling out of a helicopter? So you got Kobe Bryant in an episode, and then the very next episode, they start the gag off with the guy in a helicopter, and he falls out of the helicopter. And then Kobe Bryant dies from a helicopter crash. Kind of like that Legend of Chamberlain Heights episode where they had Kobe and he crashed in the helicopter. Can't remember what that was. That episode came out like 2 months and 24 days after Kobe's birthday. Think about Kobe Bryant's memorial on 2/24 and how Kobe Bryant equals 2/24 and how they had his daughter wore 2 and he wore 24 and a bunch of stuff. Just who knows. The 424th episode of The Simpsons, though, is the one I blogged about years ago after Prince died, and it was talking about election fraud and all kinds of stuff, right? Think about that with the Capitol insurrection. So the 424th episode of The Simpsons was all about voter fraud, right? And that had a lot to do with the Capitol insurrection. So, I mean, it's insane to even... This number 424 is really big with Donald Trump. And the reason I'm bringing all that up, though, is because in that episode, Homer Simpson, he kills Prince, George Clooney, and Neil Armstrong. So, you know, Neil Armstrong, the first guy to walk on the moon. George Clooney, I can't remember why George Clooney is important. He was in some movie called Gravity that was important to space, and George Clooney, I always thought was the voice of Buzz Lightyear, too. That was another thing that I talked about in 2020 or whatever. It had some synchronicity with Buzz Lightyear. So, but Prince, you know, just interesting. Prince was linked up to the moon, right? He died on the... I can't remember. He died on the night of like a supermoon or something. Geez, I have to go back and look at that. I know Prince was really linked up to the moon. But so much stuff going on. You know, and all the Rocky symbolism too. Somebody pointed out to me that talked about all this number 229 with Conor McGregor and whatnot. The UFC fight the day before Tyson Fury's cousin died or was in the news. The UFC fight was won by a guy named Leon Edwards, who defeated Kamaru Usman, or however you pronounce his name. But the guy who won, his name is Rocky. His nickname is Rocky, of all things, right? So I went and looked that up, and his name equaled 229, right? This big number I talked about in that previous video. All capital letters, 229, and just using the normal capital letters, 229, the guy he defeated, his name's 264 in the Francis Bacon ciphers, according to capital letters. And he lost 264 days before his birthday. And then this guy who won, his birthday is also, well, today now. And that's Sean Connery's birthday. Sean Connery and James Bond were really important to this number 264 that I've talked about over the years with the space theme. Think about how Dustin Poirier beat McGregor at UFC 264, and it was all about the number 229. So just what are the odds? The guy nicknamed Rocky would win the fight, synced up to 229 and 264, that goes back to UFC 264, that was all about the number 229, and how Conor McGregor fought the Russian at UFC 229. I even had synchronicity at work. I looked at the oven. It said 229 as I was writing this post. And then I looked down because I was laughing, and I noticed there's another 229 written on this oven here at work. Then somebody commented on a old video I had about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Really shitty video, really. It's not a very good video because back in the day I used, probably like this video, but way worse, but back in the day I was talking about patterns, like I would make video after video after video when they were all related, and I wouldn't go back and explain everything. I would just be like, look at this, look how I was talking a lot, like the year in Bill and Ted, the future is 2688, the year. And when I was talking about that in 2014, them numbers were coming up a whole lot together, like 26 and 88. And the reason 26 and 88, so that was the year back of Bill and Ted in the future. But in the year 2014, 26 years before was the year 88. There was this important thing, and 88 is the number important time travel. But I didn't go back and explain that. And I would just kind of look through a lot of the things, not even use gematria, because you don't always need gematria. It's more about the storyline, and you can just see patterns in general, I was seeing lots of things with multiples of 11 back then, like 33, 44, 55, 77. Just seemed like everybody you look up died in connection to a multiple of 11, but moral of the story is I've had a bunch of people comment on old videos that involve time travel recently, and I started thinking about Back to the Future, and I typed in Back to the Future, and it equals 229. And also 456, the stock market crash number. Think about Donald Trump and how Biff Tannen's based off of Donald Trump. Just thinking about, money, the sports almanac. And I've also talked recently about the Sandman with the Sandy Hook and a whole bunch of stuff. Sandy from Grease dying. And in Back to the Future, the first one, when he goes to the past, 1955, they play the song Mr. Sandman. So there's something just that sticks out to me with that. But I will leave it there. I think I made the point, hopefully. Just like I said, I've been inspired. I should have just did a live stream or something just to talk, but it's easier to do it this way. Just looking through here. Let's see. Talk about Flash Gordon. So I rewatched the new Batman movie too. First time I watched it was really dark and it was like a bootlegged version. I rewatched it and I noticed that the main cop in the movie is played by this guy who's born on Pearl Harbor Day, which is important to Vladimir Putin and a bunch of stuff, but this guy, I don't even know. I had synchronicity a while back that was showing me to watch the show Westworld, and he just so happens to be one of the main characters on Westworld as well. And it had to do with Stone Cold Steve Austin and a skull narrative. But his name's Detective Gordon, right? In Batman, right? So I was just like wondering about the Flash symbolism with the lightning. And maybe there's something important to Flash Gordon. And I noticed his birthday's the same day as Tyson Fury, so it just stuck out to me. And also in the Batman movie, and the new Batman movie, at the very end of the movie, they talk about how the date is November 6th. So I went from Donald Trump's birthday to November 6th, and it's 4 months and 24 days. So I don't know. Just November 6th, maybe. Maybe pay attention to that day. Since it's 4 months and 24 days after Trump's birthday. Or maybe November 7th even, because this is a span, but it's the 310th day of the year, and The Dark Knight Rises is 310. The Batman released 3 months and 10 days before Donald Trump's birthday. 2019, let's talk a lot about Tisha B'Av and August 11th. The date 310 was really, really important. We had the Ethiopian airline crash, and we recently just had the pilots that fell asleep on the Ethiopian airline. It's a huge number, 310 back then. It's also Osama bin Laden's birthday, and Al-Qaeda was founded on August 11th, that big day we were watching in 2019, so. "424 days after the Batman released, it will be 5/1 of 23, a span. And that's interesting. That's the Illuminati founding date, right? But 5/1, Batman equals 51. Moon equals 51. I really, when I was watching that movie, I couldn't get over the fact that the guy who plays the Riddler in that movie is Klitz in the movie The Girl Next Door. That's all I could like picture him as. I was like, that's Klitz from The Girl Next Door. So maybe there's something important to that guy. For whatever reason, I just can't imagine him being the Riddler. It just like my brain doesn't work. It's kind of like seeing Steve Stifler. You can't watch him in any other movie. He's just Stifler. Except for maybe like Dude, Where's My Car or something. But I still even imagine him as Stifler if I watch Dude, Where's My Car. So the guy's just forever going to be Stifler. And that other guy's going to be Klitz forever to me. So, but we'll just leave it at that. It's like almost 3 in the morning. I better go to bed. Gotta go to that sweet job tomorrow. Peace out.